is the Goon Squad Pubcast. We're doing the pub debate today. This is our third or fourth pubcast. We're not quite sure. And today we're going to debate the flat Earth theory, which is the theory that the Earth is actually flat and not round and spherical. We've got a pretty good build-up for this one, so we're real excited to have you guys both on with us. And we're going to go ahead and give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves, talk, and let us know who you are, and we'll pick it up from there.
Awesome. You first.
Yes, Lorelei, let's start with you.
My name's Lorelei. I'm a biologist. I'm not like the world is round as a scientist. I don't study the Earth because that's how it is. So I come from a family of scientists, so I do know a bit of background on it. My father's a physicist, my brother's an engineer. I don't sit there and ponder about the Earth being flat or round all the time. It's just, that's how it is. So, yeah.
All right.
Perfect. And we appreciate that, Lorelei. Roxy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm Roxy Love, and I do podcasts for a living. I do radio for a living. I've been studying the occult and other things along with the occult and those who deceive us and the way they deceive us since I was about 8 years old. I'm obsessed with reading and learning and sharing information. What I didn't add earlier was I had a near-death experience in 2010 when I came back. It was my mission in life to not only learn, but to share the information that I learned. I do think it is one of my missions in life, with that truth, to talk about the shape of the Earth, to always question what I'm being told, to use the scientific method and see whether it's true, or if what we're being fed by those who profit off of ignorance are lying to us.
Perfect. Last night, Steve and I decided that we needed to actually brush up on both sides. Now, obviously, we both grown up believing that the Earth is actually round.
Right.
And in the conversation between Steve and I, we realized we really need to focus a little bit more on being open to the idea that it's actually flat. So I spent last night reading up on just about everything I could grab up about
Not
the Earth
a
being
globe.
flat.
I like that better. Not a globe, because there's flat earthers that don't necessarily believe it's completely
It's
flat.
weird how
There's
they don't all agree on
different.
it, right?
I'll get into that later, but yes.
Right.
Yes.
So before we jumped into
Scientists all
debating,
agree
I really thought that I would be one-sided on this, and actually after watching the videos, I can say that there's more plausibility to being flat than I initially thought it was. So it sounds crazy to even say it, but
It's okay.
I feel like I've reached a neutral state on it where I'm like I can be swayed either way. So I'm real excited to see how we go about this, and so we've decided that the best way, the most fair way to start this off would be an opening statement. We thought we could flip a coin. We'll decide who goes first.
You guys okay with that?
Perfectly fine with it.
Anybody got a coin on?
Here we go.
Beautiful. Holy shit, this is like a real coin. All right.
A real coin as opposed to a fake.
This is
Is
a
it a
legit
bullion?
coin. Like it's not a quarter. So we'll do one side is Liberty, and the other side is the Shield.
$2 and 50 cents in Del Lago. I'm rich.
You guys want a paper, scissors, rock for who chooses which one?
I don't care.
You went first on your opening statement, so you're going to call it in the air, heads and tails, I believe.
Yep. You ready?
Yep.
Which one was that?
That looks like a head to me.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Opening statement is yours, ma'am. You have 2 minutes.
Okay.
The way we're going to run this,
We're going to ring a bell when you're done.
you have 2 minutes for an opening statement. We'll give you a chance to rebuttal.
Let people know what the goal is here, and from my side.
Well, I believe your goal is to establish the world is flat or not spherical.
Not a globe, yeah.
Not a globe.
That's the best way to put it, yeah.
Which is beautiful. Steven's going to run the time clock, and after your rebuttal, are we going back then, or how do you want to do that?
Opening statements, then rebuttals to each one.
Beautiful. Sounds
3,
good.
2, 1, go. Floor is yours.
Okay, so I'm Roxy Love, and I know that the Earth is not a globe. Now, I know this sounds really crazy, and I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about how I actually got into it. As I said before, I'm super into reading about everything that is hidden from us because television controls of the stations, the media, and education. So basically, I was just surfing the web as lots of people do, and I kept stumbling on people that believed in flat Earth and the fake moon landings and all this other crazy sounding information. And I never really thought like, oh, screw that, I'm not even going to look into it, those people are stupid. I just kind of just shoved it under the rug, and I said, you know what, I'll come back at it later because that's a little too far down the rabbit hole for me to even touch. One day I had nothing else to do, so I just kind of looked into it. And I first started looking into the fake moon landings, which is where I recommend everybody should start. Because when you first hear that the Earth is not a globe or spherical, you're like, okay, well, I've seen all these NASA images, and why would NASA lie to us, and blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm an anarchist, and I know that the government's job is to lie to people. Govern means to control. Ment is Latin for the mind. Mental also means the mind. So the government is basically a psyop to control people by controlling information. You control information and you control the people. So I started off knowing about the scientific method. For those who do not know what the scientific method is, to break it down in simple terms, it is 1, hypothesis, 2, experimentation, 3, observation. So therefore, I take everything that I read and I create a hypothesis, an idea, what if? And then I experiment, whatever that experiment will be, and then I observe,
3,
I analyze.
2, 1.
He's literally counting out. Thank you, very well said. Lorelai, your 2 minutes when you're ready.
Well, we've known for a very long time the Earth is round. It's proven by many theories and scientific experiments. You can go outside and do it yourself, things like that. Gravitation, why the planets are round, why the Earth is round, why we go around the sun, why we have eclipses, why we have seasons, why we have day and night. There's really so much that I just want everyone at home to pay attention to what she has to say about the flat Earth and the things we see outside, and actually that we can go test ourselves. So I really don't have much to say outside of inside of my 2 minutes, outside of that.
So you're just basically going to be here to counteract all the points that she's got to say.
Not really. I have more questions, I guess, than counteraction.
Okay.
That's awesome. I want you to ask me whatever you got.
Perfect.
And whatever I can answer, just like with you, we'll do that.
All right. Dave, how do you want to start this? Lorelai still got another minute left. If you want to tell a funny joke or tell us about your day or whatever you want to do. No? All right. Back
So
to Dave.
we'll go ahead and stop the clock then for that. That is opening statements, I guess,
Statements?
one opening statement and a rebuttal, so we appreciate that. I watched a little, like I said, I watched a little bit about it last night, and super excited to find that there's more things that I don't really understand myself. There is, when you're in a plane and you're flying, they use a artificial horizon,
Yep.
and they talked about how if the Earth was round,
Who's they?
Aviation, people who fly planes, like pilots, aviators.
Are you talking about like on the instrument panel?
Yes,
Okay.
The level,
instrument
yes.
panel
I
of
like the
the
window.
airplane. They call it artificial horizon. It's what they use to keep the plane level. They had mentioned that if the world was round, they would have to occasionally dip to adjust for the curve of the Earth.
Actually, every couple of seconds.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, actually, I have a little bit to say on airplanes. Let me just get to that a little bit because I have a lot of information. Let me see here. I have some, let me see. So, my question for people who are considering looking elsewhere besides the globe is, how can a helicopter or plane travel east if the Earth or the globe is spinning 800 to 1100 miles per hour at the equator, depending on where you stand on the ball? So how can they ever travel east? Because a plane does not travel as fast as the globe supposedly is spinning. So therefore, people flying that towards the east would never be able to make it to their destination, let alone in high winds. A plane can stall about 125 to 165 miles per hour. That is drastically a much slower speed than what the Earth spins even at its slowest if it were a globe.
You're talking about the Earth spinning at 1,000 miles an hour.
It depends on where you stand on the supposed globe. About 800 miles per hour, they say, towards the poles. And then as you get closer to the equator, it's estimate 1,100 miles per hour, they say.
So have you ever driven in a convertible before?
Yes.
And have you ever or a car or anything, and thrown a ball up? Does the ball fly, if you're in a car that's covered, does the ball fly behind you?
No, because
car.
you're basically canceling out. You also have a shield right there too.
Right. We
If
call
you
that
throw
an
the-
atmosphere. That's what the Earth has.
Right, but if you throw the ball outside of the barrier,
Right, like space.
the wind takes it.
Right, like space.
Let's talk about the vacuum. If you've ever had a vacuum chamber, you can put something as simple as marshmallows in it.
I remember doing that in 7th grade.
What happened to the marshmallows?
Well, not with a marshmallow. We used a feather and I think it was a penny or something like that. Something not outside of a vacuum, they would fall completely separate, but inside a vacuum, they fell at the same exact speed.
They just did that with they just built millions of dollars, and they dropped a feather and a bowling ball at the same
But
time.
they cut out
fell.
the camera right before they touched.
No,
So
they
actually,
didn't.
if you
YouTube it.
I know,
Everything's on
I
there.
just went over this the other day.
I've seen it happen.
Everyone keep a tally how many times
Go
things are
on
faked.
YouTube right now and check out the video, and you'll actually see that they cut it right before they fall. What they do is they actually copy and paste those images.
How do you know this?
Because we've broken down the video before.
Oh,
I've seen it
you,
live.
but you
I've
haven't
seen it
talked to
live
any
in person.
experts
I've
about
seen
it.
it live in person in 7th or 8th grade in Mr. Whitten's earth science class, teaching us about how gravity works inside of a vacuum.
And
Things drop at the same exact speed inside of a vacuum. There's no resistance
Just watch
to
the
it.
video. I swear on my son's
I
life.
watched
I
the
swear
video.
on my son's life.
I'm
Strike
not-
him dead right now if
I'm
I'm
not gonna-
lying. I've used vacuum chambers
I'm not going to watch
before.
a video that's already been
But
claimed
this
to
isn't
be-
even about watching a video.
You just said
Well, you
watch
just
the
said
video.
you back
You
to
just
the
said
video.
watch the
Because you were talking about a video too.
Okay, well, I'm talking about a real life experience where I've actually
Me too.
seen
With the marshmallows.
with a man-made vacuum, and in live in person where you're not going to edit that. And even if you point, you're not going to miss it. Two objects that weigh different outside of the vacuum. One would drop faster than the other.
It
But in
looks
the
like
vacuum-
that when you watch it, but if you slow down the video, they cut it out.
Who's they?
Whoever filmed it for television. If you look,
I
they
wasn't
have
watching it.
two
I wasn't
different
watching the video,
angles.
but-
Watch the video again. Watch the video again because they'll cut out and then you'll see a closer, them falling right in front of the video itself, the lens. So you're watching it in the chamber from far away, and then as it gets towards the platform, right before they fall, they cut out, right before they hit, and you see the camera right in front of the feather and the bowling ball.
I
So there's
disagree.
actually two different. You
So
don't-
there's also
just
times
watch the
where they
video.
go, I
Just watch the video.
video.
guys.
Why
Post
are
it
we
right
doing
now,
that?
tag me.
Let's
Tag
stop
me.
for a second.
Watch the video.
Okay.
right now.
So what are we just doing, rebuttals or just statements?
If you
So
wanna
I
rebut-
have a
if you
question.
rebuttal over that, or ask a question, whatever you want to do.
So there's a bridge that connects Staten Island and Brooklyn. It's the Verizon Bridge, I think it's called. Versano, thank you. And it's so long, it's about 1,300 feet across. And because they have to account for the curve of the Earth, the towers are 41 millimeters. One's 41 millimeters apart. Exactly. So why would they build this on a flat Earth? You can go and measure. You can take
What's the different measurements from one tower to the other? Yeah.
1,300 feet.
Difference?
Oh, no, 40, it's 41 millimeters. But that's what I think that's the big thing about all of this, is we forget how ginormous this planet is. It's huge. You're not going to look out the window and see a curve. You're not.
Exactly.
Exactly. But if you go to the beach with a friend and watch the sunset, have this friend laying on the ground, and you time it, you both are going to see a different sunset. Go out and do that, kids. It's a good
But what
experiment.
does that have to do with showing the curve? Because I have a telescope and I can take it up in Cape Vincent on my docks about as close as 3 feet above sea level, and I can see down to the shorelines of Canada 15 miles out.
Well, the friend that's standing below you will see a different sunset because it depends
But
on
I'm not
the height
talking
of
about a friend below me. I'm talking
I
about.
was, though, so you deviated from what it was saying. You're trying to start a different perspective.
No, I'm just-
Yeah, that's what we have to...
So what you're saying is if two people are standing, one person standing up, the other person sitting down right in front of you.
Yep.
The person standing up is going to see the sunset after the person sitting down. Because they're going to see it down, and they're going to,
The person laying down is going to see it
see it first.
Yep.
'cause they're closer
Same
to
thing,
the
same
ground
thing. If you
from
have a
their
tall
perspective.
building and you see the sunset and you quickly go up all the fucking stairs, if you can, challenge accepted, you'll see the sunset again. So,
You got to be quick. But
yeah,
yes.
you gotta be real quick, but it's possible.
So, I was a dancer for about 10 years. Most of the customers are people with big money. So I talk to a ton of engineers, architects. I talk to them all the time about flat earth. And even surveyors, and I have a friend who's a surveyor. They admit to never accounting for curvature of the earth. Now, the University of the State of Regina has said that with the circumference, hold on, let me get the exact, please. Now, circumference is around the equator. So, the University of the State of Regina says that if we live on a globe or a ball at 24,901 miles in circumference around the equator, Earth, we should witness 8 inches per mile to account for curvature. Now, what I was saying earlier was that I take my telescope in Cape Vincent, New York, on the St. Lawrence River, and if I put it down, actually our docks are underwater right now, but if you actually put it as close to the water as possible, which is about 3 feet, you can see 15 miles out to the very shorelines. You can see people swimming in the water. Lighthouses, another thing. You would never be able to see 35 to 65 miles out for a boat or a ship. Then you have the Notre Dame Cathedral. Hold on, let me see if I can find the numbers for that.
I still want the 41 millimeters answered, by the way.
Yeah, we kind of skipped over that for some reason. You care to respond to that question or no?
Yeah, you can talk. I'm sorry, I'm looking for information that I wrote down.
She addressed the question to you, why there's a bridge spanning over,
It was Staten Island
So it'd be the-
and Brooklyn.
so that would,
If you actually look at the bridges, they're curving, not the earth.
she wasn't talking about the bridge
So
itself.
wait,
She
so-
was talking about the actual, the pillars on a bridge, like
Where the bridge is
this part
attached
of
to the
it.
pillar.
Like that part of the bridge, it's actually up, there's a difference of why one's higher than the other, but the ground level's exactly even.
That's probably a hill. That's not the actual horizon.
Staten Island's a man-made.
Because you can look at images of Mount Everest and still see the flat horizon behind
Yeah,
it.
but Staten Island's man-made, and they would have countered that. There's a
It's
reason.
man-made, not divine-made.
Staten Island's a garbage dump. It literally is a garbage dump.
No offense to Staten Island
No,
watchers.
shout out to my friends from Staten Island, by the way, in Arizona from Staten Island.
So where is my lighthouse?
So are we, I had to step away for a second. Are
Okay,
we-
lighthouses. I'm sorry. Can I?
I thought it was Notre
I
Dame.
found my
Yeah,
notes
it's
right
right
now.
on Notre Dame.
Yes, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So lighthouses work because water always lays flat. Even Notre Dame's spire standing at 403 feet high from the foot of the tower, with the Strasbourg measuring 468 feet above sea level with telescope, ships can distinguish on the horizon, and captains also declare they can see the cathedral spire from 150 miles away. If Earth were a globe, the spire should be 5,280 feet below the horizon, basically 1 mile
Can you-
from sight of view behind
So I
curvature.
have this really cool calculator.
Lighthouses see ships on average 35 to 65 miles out. They would not be able to do this on a globe using trigonometry in the 8-inch per mile account for curvature.
So how far away are they looking at it?
Are you bringing out your calculator, Lorelei? Oh,
So, let's see, 403 feet high from the foot of the tower.
for the base.
It's 468 feet above sea level. It might be easier if you write this down and then put it in the calculator.
No, I'm waiting for you to tell me how far away it is and how high the perspective is.
150 miles away.
And how high is the perspective?
It is above sea level at 468
No,
feet.
the person looking.
I told you 150 miles away.
Oh,
They're on
right.
it. They're
But
on it.
how high are they? That's
You mean
a
the person
really
on the ship?
important math.
The person
Yes.
on the ship?
Maybe it's sea level.
I mean, yeah,
Ship.
do sea level.
minus, yeah, but what's sea level?
You can still see. Okay, say the
Okay.
ship.
Good
Say
math.
the ship is 40 feet. Let's do 40 feet.
I mean, sea level will be considered to be sea level in my mind. So anything would be above or below that.
And you said how hidden would it be?
Well, how hidden? It would be. Well, I remember this is just from
Written
what
down
I read
from
down.
a Google
Yeah, I
website,
didn't
I
write
know.
down everything.
Yeah.
No, sweetheart. Thank you for that, though. This is a debate, not a.
I'm waiting.
Let's get back on
Okay.
topic, please.
5,280 feet. Because if you want to get mean, I can get mean, but I'm being
We're not
civil
gonna-
and professional here.
Not even go there, guys.
Exactly.
We're here to learn.
Thank you.
So, while we have the second, I just want to thank Philgers for allowing us to do our podcast here today. Fantastic bar down here on the East End. They do great food here. Fantastic. They have like 105 beers on tap. Not that I'm, advocating for Philgers. I just want to give them a shout out for giving us a place to do this. It's really cool of them, and
And they have open jam tomorrow night.
they do have open mic tomorrow night.
You want to bring your harmonicas down and get a little weird?
One of the best open mics I think in the city.
I'll
I'm
do
sorry.
that.
You ready?
Sorry.
Where?
we had-
Here?
we had
Open
to-
mic here?
Tomorrow
Yep.
night. We're doing our plug for right now. Sorry.
Are you ready?
Oh, no, I'm just saying, okay, so what the calculator brought up is like the horizon. So the definition of horizon is how far you can see. This is like no telescopes or anything. So how far you can look out on a flat plane and where everything, your vision comes together, that's the horizon. So according to those measurements, you can only see 7.7 miles out. You can't see 150 miles out.
Lighthouses can see up to 65 miles or more out.
So it's with telescopes.
This is just whoever works at the lighthouses can see it. But,
According to
but
Google-
it doesn't matter whether you use a telescope because the shape of the Earth is the shape of the Earth with or without the telescope.
Right.
So remember that no matter how high you climb in altitude, the horizon will always fall at your eye level, which would not happen on a globe.
No, the higher you climb, the more you can see. So it's actually more distance than you can see.
Right, but on a globe, about 25,000 miles in circumference, just a little under, it would fall because of the 8-inch drop to account for curvature.
I want to break in real quick. Google says, how far can the human eye see? Our eyes can see galaxies 2.6 million light years away. Obviously, that's
believe in
not what we're talking
galaxies.
about.
Totally relevant.
The Earth's surface curves at a slight, out of sight rather, at a distance of 3.1 miles or 5 kilometers, but our visual actually extends far beyond the horizon. So, if you can put that together out of that jumble, basically what they're saying is we can see beyond the horizon.
Google's a liar.
You're a liar, Google.
Google's a fake. I don't know, do we have anything else? I mean, we still haven't heard about the 41 millimeter thing. Maybe I have another
Well,
question.
If we feel like we've stalemated on that, we do have some
I'm
questions
sorry,
to go
Dave.
back from the comments. Ryan would like to know if you stand in the place on the Earth and jump, does the Earth spin 1,000 miles beneath you?
That goes back to the ball in
But I
the
think
car.
that's moving
Yeah.
physics. I get that.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
If our atmosphere is moving along at the same speed of Earth, then what's the barrier between our stratosphere and the vacuum?
The ozone layer?
Okay, but we can go through it so easily, but we all know what happens between a vacuum and real life, which we live, without a barrier.
Have you ever heard of osmosis?
Yeah.
Okay, well, just put that macroscopically.
I want to. You said how easily we get through the ozone layer. I really want to know how easily that's done, because that doesn't seem like a real easy thing. I don't know the fucking rocket, so.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, this is just, this is
it's
totally
not-
steering
it's not
away, I guess, from what I was trying
Okay.
to ask.
Well, I would just be asking.
So
a
if
question.
our atmosphere is like spinning and we're completely untouched, we don't, because the Earth supposedly, when it's a globe, is slightly slowing down, spinning, and then and all that other stuff, and it keeps speeding up and spinning down ever so slightly. We never feel it.
Wait, when does our Earth speed up?
I
so
don't know. It
much?
was something by Neil Tyson deGrasse, whatever his name is.
Who's accredited
Tyson
astrophysicist?
deGrasse.
He's an astrophysicist.
Astrophysicist.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Credited.
I think he's an actor. A good one.
An opinion.
That's why I said I think.
Okay, thank you.
Ooh, I got the tingles there.
He looked at you.
Question I have here from the comments. I guess we'll get both your takes on this one. We'll start with Lorelai, because why not flip it up a little bit here? The Earth is flat. If the Earth is flat, how do floods work? Wouldn't the extra water just fall off the edge?
Yes. Well, I don't know. I've heard here we said it. I think we said it in the time we didn't share it publicly. But like, I think it's really weird that if you ask any scientist, about the Earth, they'll say round. But if you ask flat earthers, they all have different theories on it. And I've heard anything from a protected by the government ice wall to
The Antarctic Ice Treaty. Look it up. It
There
exists.
it is.
12 militaries.
We'll
It's
give you a
actually
second we'll give you a second to talk.
.gov too.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of you see like old pictures and stuff, and you see like the water falling off the edge and all that stuff. I mean, the elephant's underneath holding it up half to drink, so I guess
Those are indigenous cultures that I've never heard anyone
Maybe they
who's not
drank it.
indigenous believe that.
All right, your rebuttal to that.
Well, I'm a personal supposer in the Antarctic ice wall because I've seen Antarctic ice wall photos, tons of them, that cannot be explained, that go in a circular
Well,
effect.
Before we get to the ice wall, the question is, if the Earth is flat, how do floods work? Wouldn't the extra water just fall off the edge?
Not if there is no edge, and depending on what's out there, no one is allowed to go there without government clearance. There's 12 militaries. I mean, it's legalized. It's legalization. It's 12 militaries, and they all came together, and they call it the Antarctic Ice Treaty. And if you actually read about it, they say under the guise that they're trying to protect the land from people taking resources and all that jazz. But it's like, look at what we're doing to Africa. You really think that we're trying to keep people out to keep them from taking ice? It doesn't make any sense. And there are Masonic signs, like how we're in Freemasons are really proud of themselves for building structures and stuff. They'll put up signs.
You said that they're keeping people
In Antarctica.
from taking ice.
That was a joke.
I understand but I'm saying that's for somebody physically, let's say, walking on the ice, right? Mm-hmm. You can go to the Antarctic. You can go to the
You
Arctic.
can with government clearance, and you cannot go very far inland. You have to have a government
What's
escort.
stopping somebody from taking a private jet just flying over it?
You try same thing as if you try to go to a country that if you try to fly an airplane. I live right next to the international airport. Like literally, planes take off over me all the time.
But what's
So,
stopping somebody from just
I
flying,
can't
flying
just
over there?
get because government. They own the skies.
But what are they gonna? Has anybody tried doing it before? Because I'm pretty sure.
Yes,
nobody's flown
Admiral
over it.
Byrd
Can I ask
went with government clearance, as well as there was a woman, and her name always leaves me when I'm
Amelia
on the
Earhart?
spot. No. She was kind of like very heroic in that sense, but
yeah, Amelia Earhart's heroic for going around the world.
you can go around flat Earth too.
I want to know.
Remember, round is not spherical.
I'm trying to figure out why somebody wouldn't be allowed to fly over or around Antarctica, and with the risk of them doing that without permission, they'd be perhaps shut down. And how come there's never been a report of that happening, ever,
What, a plane shot down where?
over Antarctica to fly? Because if there's an ice wall,
Because nobody's gonna try it. No one's well, I hope nobody's
Anybody
that
got a plane?
stupid.
I mean, there's pictures of scientists down there doing research on the
Yes.
melting and everything.
Scientists that work for the government.
Oh, all scientists work for the government?
No, but they get government clearance through the You just look it up.
So they work
Swear
for
to
the
God,
government,
guys,
or they get
Antarctic-
government clearance?
The Antarctic Ice Treaty. Look it up. You can go read about it.
Yes, Google it again. And those pictures
It's
are
.gov.
real,
It's
but the ones
.gov,
we
by
show are
the way.
fake.
I know I'm being talked over, but it's .gov.
so you can't take your personal plane and just fly around over Antarctica. That's not a thing, I guess. So, Dave.
Next question. This one came up. I thought this one was interesting. I saw this last night as well. There's a theory that we've never actually seen any pictures from space of the Earth. And that everything that we have is either photoshopped or it's a recreation.
CGI would be the word.
CGI.
CGI, green
that-
screen,
Yeah, I've seen that
paintings.
over and over
Yep.
the words. CGI and Photoshop. Yeah.
So the idea is that we don't actually ever see, or we have never seen the Earth other than a recreated or remastered
Not on
image.
full scale, no. My belief.
I think,
I kind of want to handle that question because, let Lorelai handle it. But
Well,
you got to remember the Earth is
you're
pretty
about
large.
It leads into one of my questions, actually.
Yeah, mine too.
do you want to take that one first?
Did you want to go first, or just busy?
Would you like to take that one first?
I was just reading people's comments, that's all. We have 40, I'm sorry, just went down, 40 people watching.
Cool.
We have a lot on our
Yeah,
side.
hi guys.
So thank you for everybody watching. Please share our video. We're happy to bring this debate to you guys, and we'd like to do more of this kind of stuff in the future. But we definitely appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thanks. Who wants to take that one?
I'm sorry, I didn't even hear it.
The question is, can we speak to the Earth never actually being photographed and being recreated CGI style, or why it is? Actually, my question is, why is it in 1948 through 1999, and then even till now, the pictures of Earth have changed as far as the colors of the sea, the land masses and size. It seems that the pictures what NASA sent us 50 years ago are not the same. I mean, obviously there's some advances in technology, but there should be similarities in color, similarities in land mass.
Well, I
size.
can understand
It
if they
doesn't
were like,
seem
it's
to
a
be
different camera, it's a different this, it's a different that.
I don't
Because
think
cameras change over time, and that was my thing when I started questioning too.
I saw the pictures that you're talking about. They show North America a lot larger in certain scales than others. But I don't have an answer to that.
America.
I'm assuming Lorelai would have.
Well, my
that.
friend showed me this super cool live feed. It's a Japanese,
Satellite.
satellite. It's the, I'm gonna butcher this, Humarare satellite. And they do updated pictures every 10 minutes.
Yes. I
Now,
watched it last night.
if someone's sitting there photoshopping this every 10 minutes, that's a lot of work, because at any point in time you can zoom in to like where you are and look at the cloud coverage on this picture, go outside and look at the clouds that are right overhead.
Yeah.
So to me, I mean, I want to know what that dude's getting paid if he's actually doing this.
Well,
But
NASA's
it's-
making trillions and trillions.
Oh yeah, with their funding cut and everything, I bet they're making a lot of money.
Is that
right
what
now.
they're saying now? That's funny.
So that's a really cool, I can't spell it, hang on, I spelled it wrong, but you can look it up. It's a Japanese satellite, which brings me also
I looked
to,
at it last night for about 20 minutes, and I was like, no, you got to question it. Like, would they pay somebody to just constantly,
every
10
10
minutes,
minutes.
and be able
And there's
to,
like
to
4
live feed it?
different, yeah.
I got 20 minutes into it, then I had to realize that I go to my big boy job in the morning. So.
I'll take this one.
Go ahead.
Oh, I will take this one. So there have been whistleblowers with NASA in all different aspects. One of them is now a stand-up comedian. If you really want to call him a comedian, it's more like the stuff that he says is so sad and pathetic you have to laugh or you will cry.
Who's that?
I don't know. You can look him up. He's got tons and tons of videos, and he. Excuse me if I don't have every single person's name. Sometimes I can't remember phone numbers. I have a 3-year-old. I'm with him all day, every day.
I would like if you could source, like, you can't just say like there's a whistleblower that's a stand-up comedian.
Because
That's
okay, guys, on
Tell me what it is.
Facebook, find a comedian that's a NASA whistleblower who used to actually get paid at NASA to create the images for NASA. Can you guys find his name for me, please?
Is he
Can I
just-
ask, oop.
Go ahead.
So, if there's so many whistleblowers, do you guys have like an organization where they all work together now? And do they get paid? And like, why isn't that bigger? Why haven't they done a GoFundMe to fly over Antarctica or something?
Well,
like,
when you work for something like the government,
I'm
okay,
not
let's
wor-
put
I'm
it.
asking flat
Let
Earth.
me tell you something
When you work
about
for something like
myself
the
that
government.
I did not share, and I normally don't share unless I really get into it. I wanted to join the Central Intelligence Agency. I didn't because once I was accepted, I had talked to a couple of kids that were my age, about 18 at the time, and they had both had parents that were in the CIA. I thought that the CIA was people that were going to go around and find out the nitty-gritty on the bad guys. That was my take when I was 18 years old on the CIA. They told me that I better run for the hills, and one of them put it point blank. They said, it's not what you think it is, and with your big mouth, and that I have, you will not be quiet when you find out the classified information, because you're going to find out stuff that you're supposed to keep a tight lip on. And when you find out the people that you work with, let me tell you something. If I can sit face to face with an officer, and I did this before, just a cop, okay? Just a cop with that much authority compared to people in government, and he can look me in the eye and tell me he can bury a pedophile and nobody will ever find out it's him, I fear what the government would do. That was in Rochester, New York.
I could do it too. I wouldn't need to be a cop.
You know
But I
what?
understand
You know what? But it wasn't just saying it, it was with the way he said
The
it.
conviction itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was very certain of himself and him and his buddies and blah, blah, blah. So I don't even want to imagine what the government is doing.
so we're basing
I don't wanna
this
believe
on a
we're lied to.
person's conviction on how much they believe something that has no visible evidence.
No, not at all. That's why
You just
I
said
was
if
talking
conviction
about the
is what
scientific.
convinced you.
And it's based off somebody that.
Because
claims
he
to have
said
a
it.
mental-
If
mental
you know
condition.
anything about energy, because energy is everything, yeah? Right?
Well,
Do
do
you
you
believe
are
that?
you about to talk about key and all that stuff? Because that's a whole nother topic.
About
right
what?
now. Key,
Getting
energy.
off topic. No, we're basing the statement. I understand what you're saying about the government being really corrupt. And
I don't think anyone agrees here that we fully trust the government. I
No,
don't.
absolutely
Yeah.
not. But having an officer say I could do this or I could do that.
And he's on like the bottom part of the pyramid
Yeah.
of the government.
I know a lot of police officers, and a lot of them are my friends' parents, and 90% of them are good people, but you're going to get that 10% that are bad.
I think we're way
I
off topic.
disagree with you,
We are.
but
We are
that's
way
totally
off
cool
topic.
what you
We're
think.
gonna get
No,
way off
also
no, I'm sorry. I
Okay.
tried to relate that in the way that I guess if you want to really question what the government is doing, especially in places like the CIA, I mean, we get away with going to war over lies. At least I believe most people think that nowadays, or they've lied, even if not everything you think is a lie about them, a lot.
Love your country, hate your government.
Here's the thing. Like I just said, I don't think anyone here 100% is backing the government anyway. But scientists, I argue with people a lot. Like the cure for cancer. I'm like, do you not think these people have friends and family that had get cancer? Like stuff like that. Like I am arguing the science here. I am not arguing the government in any way.
Well,
Let's get back to the Earth being flat around.
Okay, sorry.
No, I'm glad that you guys can have like an open forum like that, but that's cool.
I wish you guys can see my comment because there's so many people talking right now.
I'd like to ask a question that was brought to us. Is this okay?
Yes.
Is this okay?
This is a question that was a while back, but I think it's a great question to get us back to the flat Earth theory. Our viewers are really interested to hear the explanation of the sun rising and setting on the flat Earth.
We already went over that.
If the Earth doesn't rotate.
Did we not go over that?
Are you talking about
I
like
don't believe
moon
we covered
phases
that.
in the sun?
There's sunrise. Well,
Okay,
sunrise.
Okay, whatever you want to do. Whatever
Where
you want
does
to
the
do.
sun go, basically, right?
Right. Specifically, they're interested in what happens with the sun.
Yeah, where's it going?
As it comes and goes, as it does with the moon.
Well, I brought some balls that belong to my son. He's 3 years old. So we're going to
Bring
say
out the
this
balls.
is the sun. Okay, if you know anything from standing, say you've ever stood in a long hallway, a long flat hallway. You're standing at one end and somebody is moving away from you, okay? They're going to appear to be getting smaller, right? Same thing happens with the sun, is it's actually moving away from you. We can only see so far, which is what we were talking about before.
3.1 miles. Done.
And that doesn't account for weather, that doesn't account for hills and all the other stuff that goes on. So like even if you're looking over water, there could be mist. There could be boats, there could be waves, there could be a bunch of different things that are obstructing your view. But if you're standing in like a long, flat hallway, the person that's walking away from you or the thing that's moving away from you will begin to appear smaller. So, in my belief over flat Earth, the sun is not setting, it is just moving in a circular motion around flat Earth. That's mine.
Right. How far away is the sun?
Well, my belief is that it's not 93 million miles away, and that has to do with the rays of light that come from it. When you have something far enough away, especially 93 million miles away, the rays of light are going to be pretty much parallel to each other by the time that they hit you, and the closer the sun is.
Didn't you just say as things go away, they get further together? So as things come towards you, shouldn't they go further apart?
Well, yeah, but I'm not saying that the sun is 93
You said
million
the
miles
rays
away.
are parallel? So, okay, so I can't do it into the camera, but if my fingers are
It
like
is
this, as they come
approximately.
towards you, they're going to look further and further away from each other. That explains the sun's rays.
I guess I don't know what you're asking.
I know, but that's basically what I'm saying. You're saying that the rays aren't parallel
Right.
anymore.
Right.
The rays going out like this.
No, the rays come down. When you have a
Did
light
you just
source.
you just went like this?
Yes.
Yeah. Then we agree.
That the sun is closer.
No.
So that means
The
rays-
farther you get away.
They're not parallel. Going like this means they're not parallel. This is creating
I'm
an
sorry.
angle.
They're completely, the word I'm looking for is vertical. I'm sorry. That's what I meant.
Okay, so
That's so-
restate
That's why I
what you were saying.
Stop.
So restate what you were saying with the sun's rays then.
The sun's, okay, so the sun's rays not parallel. You're absolutely right. That would mean exactly next to each other. Vertical, they would be coming down vertical on the Earth at 93 million miles away. So if your light source is closer, okay, because the farther it is away, the less that they're going to appear outward.
Are we talking about rays on like a cloudy day or a sunny day?
The sun in general?
I'm asking, when you're looking at the rays, when are you looking at a cloudy day or a sunny day?
Sunny day. A cloudy day.
So
It
when's the
doesn't
last
really
time
matter.
you saw sun rays without clouds in the sky?
I guess when you look at up at the sun and you have glass, I guess through.
Right, you're looking through glasses, which is refraction through the glass.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I've never seen sun rays without clouds.
So this point was conceded?
I think I have answers to this. I'm just overwhelmed with the information.
I'm with you.
But yes, I'm trying to think.
Okay.
Maybe any
It's a
more
good point.
questions?
I'm just going back through the comments here.
You have it. How about you ask a question? What do you have, Lorelai?
Well, I want to give, if people are asking questions.
Yeah, they can wait. This is what you
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I'm scrolling for questions. If you guys have questions, definitely feel free to throw them in the comments.
Okay.
And I'd be more than happy to see what I can get up here. But yeah, let's throw it to you guys. What kind of points, counterpoints? Let's go with that.
I'm wondering about Jupiter's moons.
Jupiter's moon.
So he mentioned he had like a Nikon camera over there.
Yeah,
you
that's
can at
Lawrence,
night,
yeah.
you can zoom in on Jupiter and you can see its 4 moons. And if you watch it carefully, you can see those moons orbiting Jupiter.
Okay.
You can do this with a camera.
But what
at
does
home.
that have
Again,
to do with Earth?
experiment at home, kids. Well, that it's round.
No, it's spherical is what I think you're looking
Spherical. Right. So we
Okay.
agree again, it's spherical.
for. Right. Jupiter. We're talking about Jupiter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jupiter and its
Oh, I'm not. I'm totally. The wandering stars definitely spherical from what I've seen in my telescope.
So is your model a geocentric model, or is it?
Heliocentric? No, it's not heliocentric. It's definitely the Earth is stationary at the center of the celestial bodies above.
Okay. So everything else around us is round.
Let's.
But
Oh,
we're
this
the
is my
exception.
favorite. I
But
have a
we're
great
the
example
exception.
for this. Actually, I have
Yeah.
a great
We're the
example.
lucky ones.
This is what made me think, because that was actually one of the first questions I ever asked. Remember when I
That's a
said
good
I
question.
finally was like, I'm going to look into the NASA hoax, I'm going to look in the flat Earth theory and all this stuff. I asked that same question. I'm like, well, how come when I look up, everything else is spherical? Duh. That means we're spherical too. Why? somebody was like, okay, so Roxy Love, because, you know, I'm Caucasian, what if you could never look at yourself and nobody said what you looked like, but you were born in Asia? Would you automatically think that you were Asian? Probably, because I couldn't look in on myself. So is because what I see, because I see something, does that mean is that what I am too?
Like looking in a mirror?
No,
or-
you have never been able to look in a mirror. Nobody's ever told you that you look any different.
Well, there's
But
ways
you were
to
born
find that
just
out.
as-
You can, you know, test eye size, and you can test
What if you
your
were?
nose.
What if you were blind and nobody ever told you?
Well, I'd hope you have friends that could
Never
test
tell
it
you.
for you.
Yeah, but that's a hope. What I'm saying is, does that automatically mean that you're Asian too?
No, and that's why scientific data comes in. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your next point?
Okay. Well, we can also talk about, as many know, the Zionists, okay? Not a lot of people believe in them probably in this room, and that's okay. NASA in Hebrew is pronounced NASA, spelled N-A-S-A.
That's an
They also
acronym.
own the media, the television stations,
So
all of
that's
it.
an acronym.
Yeah, national.
NASA, but it doesn't matter because if you know anything about spells and Freemasonry, words are spelled, spells are chants, chants are said, and that has to do with the occult and what they practice with numerology and putting images and
That's-
sounds and all that. Okay,
Not to
so
interrupt, but that's a
NASA,
little bit of a reach.
not really.
Some
NASA
people-
in Hebrew means deceived, to deceive, beguiled, utterly forget, greatly deceived. You have to really get into who's controlling what here, especially here in America, and who we are funding constantly every day, which is Israel. And Israel has been taken over by the Khazarians, which migrated from Khazaria to Israel, and which are now taking over Palestine, but that's another topic. So, again, NASA is notorious for having Freemasons, Nazis, Operation Paperclip scientists capture. They captured them, and then NASA was all of a sudden created, and occultists in its ranks. So NASA has a lot of these Freemasons, and this is just popular knowledge because Freemasons usually don't hide their title. So occult is synonym for eclipse. These Kabbalists surround their beliefs by geometry. In Greek, basically, it's geometria. Basically assigning numerical value to word or phrase, which is what I was telling you. They think that the Holy Grail, so to speak, is being able to do these black rituals to create whatever they want by these rituals. I know because I was a Satanist and a member of the Church of Satan up until I was probably 23 years old. So I learned heavily what these occultists are practicing, what they believe.
Are you getting back
firsthand.
to the blind person being Asian, or are we past
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was talking about NASA being loaded with Freemasons. So okay. So Freemasons in space include John Glenn, Buzz Aldrin Jr., Edgar Mitchell, Don Eisenhower, Virgil Grissom, Walter Schira Jr., I think it's pronounced, Paul Weitz, Neil Armstrong, Alan Shepard, William Prog, Vance Brand, and Anthony England, C. Fred Kleinsnight. So Neil Armstrong backwards, I think,
All right,
which is hilarious, is not Mr. Alien.
you're just listing a bunch of names right
Yeah,
now.
you're just, it's just.
No. Like I said,
I'm not trying to interrupt, but you just listed a bunch
Freemasons
of names
are
that are
very
Freemasons.
proud of their titles, and you can actually just look this up.
But that's not proving anything. You're
Yes.
just listing a bunch of names, saying
Correlation.
that they're just saying they're Freemasons. I got a bunch of friends that are Freemasons. You can sign up online to be a Freemason. It's pretty simple.
Yeah,
It's pretty
men
simple.
can.
Okay.
I was a
Well,
neophyte for the Order of the Golden Dawn, but
There's
because I have a
nothing-
big
there's nothing
mouth,
going
I was
down.
dropped as an initiate.
Before or after the CIA?
This is after the CIA. This is actually not long before I became pregnant with my son.
Do we have more names on this list? Or?
I mean, I could talk more about that, but since, you know,
I just wanna
it's
get back
it's
to-
kind
I
of
was
just
asking
getting
a question.
mocked. I mean, like I said, I have studied the occult since I was a
Okay.
child, so this has always interested me. And it's
That's
not
cool.
really that I'm an occultist anymore, it's just that I firsthand know what these people are capable of, what they're doing, why they're doing it, why it's funny to them. It really is, because what could you possibly want when you have all the money in the world is more power. So controlling that, we could talk about the Ouroboros, but I'm not going to go into that because apparently it's off topic.
No, I'm still waiting for the explanation from 5 minutes ago.
For
The blind Asian person.
yeah,
that
so
wasn't
why
very-
would you just automatically assume that you're Asian because you see Asian people.
I thought they were blind. So you can't look in the
Okay, see, this is why we can't talk about these things, because they're just not
Because
getting
you
it. They're
don't
trying to
provide
find
any
reasons to argue instead of getting it. Okay, for instance, my son. I have to eventually tell him. He's 3 years old. My son is 3 years old. Eventually, I have to teach him who he is, where he came from, what his heritage is. Some people today, like I just had a DNA test done, I found out I have Russian background. I would have never known just from looking at myself.
You had a
You
DNA
have to
test
actually-
created by scientists, though. Do you trust it?
Do you know what a scientist is?
She is a scientist.
But it's, okay, well then you should know it's anyone, not somebody just with a lab coat or a license, someone who performs the scientific method, which is hypothesis, experimentation, observation. Anybody can be a scientist. But if you want an official government badge, I mean,
Which I don't, but I
Yeah.
still think the Earth is round. I mean, if they're giving me my check, I'm still waiting for it.
I
that's
think-
cool.
to get back to
People
the
can
point,
get
though,
checks
are
for
we-
cleaning up dog poop.
I think the point that we're getting back to, though, is more so believing what you're being told versus what you have seen and haven't seen. From what I've understood of the flat Earth theory, a lot of the back idea of it is that people believe in mass that the Earth is round because we're taught and told since childhood the Earth is round. I believe that's the point we're trying to get to.
Right.
I think the difference, though, is not that it's like we're told, we're shown how to do the math on it. We're shown, like, those experiments.
The trigonometry.
Scientific method.
The
Trigonometry.
scientific method.
Scientific method.
Like, you know, so it's not that, like, you know, people, these teachers or scientists are,
Getting paid.
So, are you saying that you can prove the Earth is round based on math?
yeah.
Okay, so let's run with that for a second. Being that you know that's kind of more so your area, you can prove the Earth is round.
Biologist.
Well, I mean, let's call it
Your
TV.
family-
I can tell you about the
Your family
albatrosses that use circumnavigation around the
They use the
Antarctic
flat Earth
shelf.
model, the aviation do, and so do the USGS.
The albatrosses?
No, I'm just saying they use the flat Earth, the USGS and aviation all use the flat Earth
I'm talking
model.
about birds.
Also use the flat Earth model.
Yeah, 'cause
I'm sorry, that was kind of funny.
There's one pole, it's because it's at the center, it's magnetic north.
Did you just say you're talking about birds?
yes.
Like,
Yeah.
So,
was talking about Asia.
sorry, that would caught me off guard.
Sorry.
yeah.
The birds. All right, so math either way proves that the Earth is round. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you can do, yes.
Okay.
We know how far distance is and all that stuff.
Right.
I'm going to be
Can you,
honest, like,
Can I interrupt? Can you tell them to turn YouTube down because YouTube sucks? We got another
so
20
that's
minutes.
nothing we can all agree on?
We got 20 minutes left of our podcast, and fucking Bono just ruined my day.
So I actually have a question for you,
Well,
Lorelai.
I was hoping that you could talk a little bit about that.
What?
Actually, just to keep us on track. So she said that mostly you can prove the Earth is round based on mathematics alone.
You mean spherical?
Yes, spherical,
Okay.
orb shaped. How do you feel that you can rebuff that?
Like with mathematics?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Trigonometry.
go
For
on.
every mile, we should witness an 8-inch drop to account for curvature. You can take the city of Manhattan, the skyline. If you're looking out at the skyline, the buildings technically over 13 to 14 miles should be slanted outward from the vantage point that you're looking. These buildings should start to tip outward to account for the globe, but they
Lorelai,
I just,
why don't the buildings fan out?
because it's, again, it's a thing from perspective. A, we have to know where the viewer is. B, again, we have to remember how big this Earth is. It's humongous. Like, you're not going to look across the, like this, remember when I said about the bridges? 41 millimeters? Can you see 41 millimeters of the bridge with your bare eye? You literally have to go there and measure it with instruments. Like, we're not talking about just looking and
Okay,
seeing it.
thank you.
You can see the sunrise thing that I said. You can do experiments like that, but just plain looking out and seeing buildings curve down. You can see it with ships. If you're looking across a flat body and the ship vanishes bottom first, you can do that with a strong telescope.
And you can
Another
take that
experiment
cool
with your
camera right there. You can zoom in. Even on my telescope, you can see that ships actually
You
don't
guys should look at
disappear.
Jupiter.
But Jupiter is not Earth. You have to stop thinking that you can just call Earth Jupiter.
Why
Like,
is Earth different from Jupiter?
I didn't create it. I have no idea why it was created differently.
So why is Earth not following the same physics that other planets do?
Lorelai's mic dropped out.
Oh no. Am I here now?
Hold on, guys.
Your
Hold on.
microphone is
Wait,
working
somebody's
perfectly fine.
microphone doesn't work.
It's a scandal.
Fucking hell.
Shutting
For what?
me up.
Nobody
Sorry,
started yelling.
guys,
That
sorry.
shit hurts my ears.
Okay, well that hurt my ears.
Keep talking.
I apologize. That was my fault.
Right. Oh no, we're just.
Hold on, I'm like deaf and
You're fine.
I didn't mean to. I didn't know the microphone was this close to me. Thank you, Steven.
No, basically, I guess I'm basically just asking you like why other planets follow the laws of physics but Earth doesn't.
Hold on just 1 second. Can you turn this down? It's so high up.
I literally haven't adjusted anything.
No, if anything drops on this table, it's gonna bust in my ear.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to my world for the entire podcast.
Okay, that was good before.
Just keep talking. You're
So
good.
what you're okay? That's good. Okay, so basically what you're asking is why is Earth not the same as Jupiter? I don't know. I wish it was because then I could believe NASA. And okay, this is way too loud. It keeps going up.
You don't need your headphones on.
Okay. So yeah, so I wish I could believe NASA because I didn't wake up one morning and be like, yay, fuck it all. I just want to know that all these people are lying to me. That people who pay taxes are funding their own dumbed down education. I never ever wanted to believe I was being lied to. In fact, it pisses me off. It pisses me off that sometimes I can't wake up other people. Like, as Neo said in The Matrix, I can only open the door for you. I can't make you walk through it. I mean, I know how berserk it sounds. It sounds absolutely preposterous. And I know people that also have parents that are engineers and people that fly airplanes and stuff. And these same people, I mean, there are pilots out there who will say the earth is definitely flat. There's people in the military who shot big artillery weapons and they'll be like, there's no way. I've even shot a gun. There's no way.
So if we're talking anecdotals here, which I feel like that's
Hold on, I don't have my microphone on. What'd you say?
anecdotals.
What's that?
It's personal stories.
Right.
I feel that's all it's kind of been today. So if I can share a personal story, my grandfather worked for the Nazis. And he had to build rockets because the war. And they calculated in the curvature of the Earth and how the Earth moved in order for the rocket to land where it needed to.
I mean, you can say that to me forever.
That's how I feel about all the stories you said today.
Okay, yeah, you're free to do that. You're totally free to do that. Because I don't want to sit there and say somebody's grandfather was lying. That would be really fucked up of me. So, I mean,
I have a question. One of the things that I had seen yesterday talked about the moon in particular, and how it actually emits its own light. Now, the
What?
accepted belief is that the moon reflects light from the sun.
self-illuminating.
So the accepted belief is that the moon actually radiates light from the sun to the earth, and that's how we're able to see the moon. I've seen with the flat earth theory last night, the moon actually emits its own light, and that kind of helps fuel along the flat earth theory. Now, it emits its own light based on the idea that it doesn't refract the same light color as the sun. Now, obviously, the moon is a different color, but there should still pick up different colors from the sun in the reflection.
The moon's a different color than what?
The moon is its own color because the moon is a white, but it should emit different colors based on the sun.
Different colors than what? It's a question I'm asking you.
So the moon
Also doesn't have an atmosphere, so
Right.
it's not gonna.
You-
Everyone's changing.
Wait, but
Oh, that's true. Somebody just brought that up. Moonlight is cooler than moon shade.
Yes, that's what I'm
That's
going
that's
with
yeah. Okay.
that. Since you understand that and I don't, and I'm just kind of bringing it up to fuel this along. Okay, go.
I've never heard of moon.
Terrible debate.
So basically, it's the same. It works the same way as sunlight. Is if something is in the moon's light, it is a different temperature than if it's in the moon's shade.
Can you explain?
Yeah.
what-
You have to. It's something that people really have to do for themselves.
They have to do their own research.
Yeah.
Oh.
Where,
I mean, I don't have the moon right here. I can't really do it right here, right now. But yes, absolutely. I think that everybody should do that themselves. There are like temperature gauges you can get just to calculate the temperature of the air.
I just want to do a correction real quick. My mother just yelled at me. He didn't work for the Nazis. He worked for a scientific faction.
I was
For the-
okay.
your
But my
grandfather's
grandfather,
not there 'cause
my
they
grandfather,
defended.
Poor
just
granddad.
for my mom.
Your whole family went,
Poor guy.
so what about lunar eclipses?
Wait, hang on.
I'm
Can
sorry,
we go
go
back?
ahead.
I just
Yeah.
want to finish like what the explain moonshade and moonlight.
It works based on moonshade and moonlight. It works the same way sunlight does, and you really have to test it out for yourself. You can use it with objects like that calculate the temperature. I would just recommend there's something you could probably go to a place like our local shops like Harbor Freight and find something like that.
A thermometer?
It would be for the air. It wouldn't be like for a piece of like dense matter. To, like,
So are
stick it
you
in or
telling
anything.
about the temperature difference between like, say there's a tree in the way or something? Being
A
in the
rock? It could be a
moonlight?
rock even. I mean, you really have to. You could even.
What does that have to do with flat Earth though?
We're talking about the moon being self-illuminating.
So you're saying that it radiates heat?
From how the whole moon shade, moonlight aspect works. Yes.
That's all new to me. Sorry, but
It is. It's a hard topic even for me to talk about because it's one of those things that you really have to have the right equipment and either to calculate it. I kind of not to tend to go there. I personally believe it's
this
self-illuminating.
is literally
That is
the
my
first, like the first time I've actually ever heard of that whatsoever.
And that's something
I went
maybe
into
for
the-
somebody else to talk about because they might I don't
I
delve
understand.
into every
I
little
went
aspect, but
deep
yes, I do. I personally believe this moon is self-illuminating. I can talk about the moon phases, the
Yeah,
lunar
that's
eclipses,
one thing
stuff like
we
that.
We did want to get into is
Okay.
how do you explain eclipses, phases of the moon, lunar eclipse, solar eclipse? I mean, that's kind of one of my big hard-hitting questions was, it's kind of evident what's going on there. Like there's a reflection or a shadow cast on the moon by a larger body somewhere, and explain that to me. If you can explain that to me, that makes sense to me. Like,
Right.
I do a little bit.
That's
more,
actually-
I'll do a little bit more research on the Earth being flat. And
Okay.
All this, what I've been taught
Well-
my entire life, what it might be.
Okay, I'll get these out for future
Oh, we're
reference.
playing soccer.
I do.
Or
I have
golf.
these for my 3-year-old. They're about the same size, so I figured they would work. So first, let's talk about the lunar eclipse because this is kind of what stumped me at first, and I'm like, somebody just asked me about it, and I have no idea what to say. So I started. Luckily we actually had the red moon, which happened soon after, and we didn't know how that happened, and then we had a lunar eclipse happen. So I actually got
Scientists
out
knew how it happened.
my Nikon and I started filming what was going on. Well, it does actually, to me personally, look like there is some sort of, I'll say like a body that's made out of a gaseous substance that is black, that is circular, that goes over the moon. Now I'm like, how do I even begin to back that up? And I started, researching what other people have to say on it. Now these are actually people that believe in the globe that posted this video, even after they posted this video.
Anecdotal again.
Huh?
Anecdotal again.
Okay. But this is just something you can watch because they actually filmed the lunar eclipse. They actually filmed.
Saw it by person.
They filmed. Okay, and I'm not saying you
Yeah, it
didn't.
was like sixth grade.
They were.
6th or 7th grade I watched it. Live.
So have I. But this is different depending on where you stand when it happens. They were actually filming. There was a guy and a girl. They were filming. There's no camera cut. It's just the lunar eclipse is happening and the sun is coming up and it's in the sky now. And the guy is standing there completely dumbfounded and he's like, well, I don't know. Maybe it's a mirage. But if you know anything about mirages, you have to have some sort of reflective, like, thing that it can bounce an image off of the bottom of it. Like, that's how you know what a mirage is. So it got me thinking that there must be some sort of celestial body in the sky besides the moon, besides the sun. And I started looking into other things, which I haven't really looked enough to speak on, but one of the newer things that I've been looking into is something called a black hole sun. There have been people who have taken images of the sun with some sort of black celestial body over it. Now, that's harder to talk about because you really have to decipher what's real and what's not, what's Photoshop, what's
We're getting
not.
to-
Just for the record,
Yes, I'm sorry.
I hate the song Black Hole Sun. That's the only thing.
The video is pretty wacky.
Go ahead, Lorelai.
Oh, no, I'm just waiting for an explanation of eclipses.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, that was my
So gas?
hypothesis. Yes, a
You said-
gaseous
you
substance,
said
because
there's
when
a-
it does go over the moon, you can still slightly just see the illumination of the moon.
So
You,
question.
you said that like there's another celestial body that's out there that nobody's ever seen, and then you said you saw a video of a man and a woman filming an eclipse.
The lunar
and saw
eclipse.
And saw the sun at the same time.
The sunrise. Yep.
One guy's posted that video.
Can I ask you a
No,
question?
they're out there. I'm sorry. This was just the best one because some of them,
I've
the sun
never
is
seen
so
that.
really far away from them, so the videos aren't as good or they're bad. Like camera angle. Yes, you can go
Possibly,
on and just look up these videos of people filming the lunar eclipse with the sun rising.
I have a non-anecdotal, non-video question.
Go ahead.
How come we can predict when eclipses will happen? Can you predict it off of your gas model? How do flat earthers do the
That's
math?
why I
on
want to
when
talk
the
about
next-
the Ouroboros so bad
eclipse
because
will be?
I have the legend of how government was created, and that's by deceiving people, by knowing stuff ahead of
No, I'm
time.
asking you for your model, the gas model. So do you guys have like math for when the gas is going to pass through the moon and create an eclipse?
It's just a celestial body. So it's
Right,
the
but
same as
when?
knowing. I don't know. I'm not one of those people that just know. Like, they know.
Who's they?
The government, the people
No,
that
no, no,
do
no,
this
the
all the
flat
time.
earthers, can they predict when the next eclipse is based on their flat earth math and their gas math?
If they just go off of what's already created, I mean, no, I don't know because I haven't delved that far into it, as I stated before.
Sorry, guys, I'm really pissed off at my mic stand right now.
Our videos
You'll
are
be
catching
okay.
up to the balls, so we're all right.
If you guys are hearing this random, it's me getting pissed off. Keep tipping over.
What's over 50 recorded time? Yes, we can.
We're down to 7 minutes. I think.
Okay, explain.
Oh yeah, do you have a time limit?
No.
You said that you've got.
What time is it? I'm sorry.
7:54. You said that you wanted to end by 8. If you want to keep going,
On
you
my
are more than
phone.
welcome to. Lorelai, it's up to you.
Mm,
I mean,
I don't know if Nick is still watching. Nick, if you're still watching, I'll be home at like, I don't know, you said until like 8:30. Can we go until like
Midnight.
8:30?
as long as you guys.
As
don't
long
go
as I
on,
can get home for 9 o'clock, then we
it's
should be
up-
fine.
It's up
Cause
to
he,
you two. We
Right.
are wide open.
okay, no later than 8:30 because I do have to put him to bed by 9.
Well, fantastic.
How do you see these? Hold on.
You want to?
How about we take some questions from, I'm assuming people that are still commenting on there.
Yes.
We're up to 43 viewers, 41. That's good.
Can you guys see my comments or no?
You're on your own thing, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Why no? We're on. Our,
Okay.
We're on our feed.
First, just a real quick shout out, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Goon Squad
Oh.
podcast.
Wait, we're done?
I'm just giving an update.
Oh, okay.
All of your comments.
This is like our fourth or
and all
fifth
your audio
podcast.
is-
We
Okay,
go to a
cool.
bunch of different bars.
I got the okay.
Let,
I'm supposed to talk
let us
about
just pretty
Polaris.
much do
Don't let me
whatever we
forget.
want. And so we appreciate you tuning in. We're doing the Flat Earth Theory debate today, the pub debate. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you are enjoying this, if you like it, please definitely hit the share button. Let the world know we're here. We've had 40
I'll
viewers
do
pretty
Polaris.
steady for about the whole time, so I appreciate that. We appreciate you guys tuning in with us here. We're happy to take a couple more questions. We decided we're going to run this for about another half hour and see where we end up on it. Let me get a look here. So, questions about the Earth and how deep it is, if it is in fact flat. How can we tell how deep it is? What's underneath the earth?
Oh, I don't know. I've never been underneath the earth. That's
How do we
those
know when
are
the
like
earth ends?
that's equipment I don't have, huh?
How do we know when the earth ends as far as depth?
As far as you mean underneath us?
Yes.
I have no idea. I've never been. I don't know anybody who's been down there. I just know what TV and
So
the government written and big physicists have tried to say.
What is the
Like the mantle, the core. Apparently, we know what's underneath the earth, but we've never been to the center of it. Crazy stuff.
scientifically? I don't know why I keep looking at you and saying scientifically. From your perspective, doctor, the accepted idea is that the earth has iron inside, liquid iron, spinning at a crazy amount of speed, and that's what keeps
Anything
gravity.
to support the globe. They're good at that.
Right. How do you explain gravity?
I don't.
Are we doing depth of Earth or gravity right now?
Well, we started with depth of Earth. Yeah, let's finish depth of Earth.
Okay.
Well, the deepest hole they've ever dug, it was in Russia. It was about 8 miles deep. And leading into your next question, because of the theory of gravity, they can do the math on how the Earth looks in its core. And also, lava, like you said, liquid. I'm not actually 100% sure what lava is made of. That's not my area of expertise. But if lava is created through, I know it's at least pressure.
You mean the plates?
No, lava.
No,
The
I'm
stuff
sorry. I
that
thought
comes
you were going to go into the plates.
No,
and
no,
all
I'm
that
just
stuff.
saying lava has to come from somewhere deep in order to be as hot as it is. And that comes out of volcanoes. How deep does the flat Earth model say it is?
Honestly, I haven't read any because nobody knows for sure. It's the same thing as what's on the other side of this ice wall.
So you know measurements of size, but you don't know depth. So how do you guys do the mathematics on that?
What do you mean I don't know depth? I don't know depth, or there is no generic depth idea. We don't know what to think because, like you said, the deepest hole is only 8 miles.
Right. But how can you guys do the math and everything you do without knowing how deep it actually goes?
How could we? I don't understand
We
why.
can do.
that
I
is.
mean, I can pull it up. Like I said, I can't. I don't know the
All
exact
that
but
matters is
scientists
what we
know
can
that how
see.
deep the Earth goes because of the math that they use. What is the flat Earth math in order to find out how deep the Earth is?
Yeah, but why? My thing is, I don't know how deep the Earth is. I don't have any I haven't dug that far down, so I personally don't
That's
know.
a good pun. Here. Well, I guess that answers that because we don't know. If it's a flat Earth model, we don't know.
But how
deep
far
it
have
goes.
you dug down, you personally?
Me and the beach, maybe 2 feet.
Okay, so probably
I'm not talking
With my
anecdotal.
car.
I'm talking math. we.
But I'm also talking math because you've only dug down 2 feet. So I mean, where's your scientific evidence?
Oh, here I can look it up. So the distance from the center of the Earth is 6,371 kilometers.
Supposedly.
The crust, yeah, but where's your math? You said you don't know yours. How come I don't know mine? Mine's
Just
right.
because I question yours doesn't mean I have some theory for
The
what
burden of
supports
proof
mine.
lies on the
I
person
don't,
making the claims, and you have to prove to me why you think your claim is correct.
or else what? Because I'm still here talking about flat Earth and the things that I can prove, which is what's important right now. If you also have not gone any deeper into the Earth's crust,
Anecdotal.
than
I'm not
I
talking
have.
about me. I'm talking about the scientists.
But
that
I'm
do the
also
math,
talking about the scientific method, which is hypothesis,
which is what they use to get this
experiment,
number,
observation. But instead of reading what somebody else says,
like
what,
you did with all your papers.
this is just my personal notes. This
Yeah.
is my personal notes, stuff that I remember to write down, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm-
that proves
I'm
that
catching
flat
I guess
earthers-
I'm just
flat
confused
earthers don't know
because,
how deep their model is. So I guess next question.
because I mean, what is the or else about it? Why do I personally have to know how deep the Earth goes right now? What?
I mean, it's an honest question.
It is,
I mean,
it is, and
it's
if
an
I
honest
say I
question.
don't know, why is it not good enough?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm not asking you for an exact number. I'm asking you for how would they do the math?
how would they
on-
find the calculation of that?
That's
Like,
a
if
good,
we-
that's a
if
good question.
we
I would
figured
like
out
to
how-
see some equipment and some science behind
And when we
what goes on
roughly
underneath
figured
our
out
feet.
How deep the Earth would be at least to the somewhat of the center, and using science from a distance to another distance, finding the curvature and everything else, we kind of figured that out.
Seismic waves, all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, what is your, that's another good question. I didn't even think about that. What's your take on like earthquakes and volcanoes and everything else? Like the layers of underneath the actual, the ground that we walk
That's
on.
a good question. That's also a mystery. But then she says she doesn't know what lava is made out of. That's not her expertise. Volcanoes and stuff are not my expertise. It's not something
what
I
about tectonic plates?
looked into, except for when I believed in the globe. Then I looked into it and I just believed whatever I was told about it. But now because I
So you threw out
understand,
the scientific method and just believed what you read. is what
it
you're
wasn't
saying.
necessarily the scientific method necessarily because I didn't do those experiments to make that belief myself. That was just indoctrination. That was what I was told from textbook and television and all that stuff, which is where I got my so-called beliefs from. And now I want to be able to do this stuff myself in order to prove.
The math, that's what I keep asking.
Math does not always mean fact. Math can make up any imaginary universe. It can create formulas to create an imaginary world, or it can create a fact. Science first has to prove something is true in order for a math problem to be true.
Actually, most science works with there is a theory and then they try to disprove it and therefore prove the theory. That's why science is...
I know, but science is the physical, raw evidence that something does exist. You have to have observable proof, not just a mathematical number or formula.
I just want to question what did you just say? Observable proof. Okay. I'm just going to remember that quote.
Okay, cool.
Observable proof.
Observable.
Something that you've seen,
So
correct?
pictures don't
Something
count.
that
I'm not
you
atta-
can
I'm not
observe.
atta- I'm
Well,
not
you can
attacking you.
observe too. Blind people can observe
You're getting
touching.
You're not
Their
what I'm coming at, but
senses.
you just said observable proof to prove something is true. Like
We've never seen the ice wall. Is
I've
that
never
where
seen
you're
the.
getting?
And this is my opinion.
That's why I said
I
I
totally don't agree
believe
with you on
in the
anything
ice wall.
on anything about the Earth being flat. I'm here to hear you out and ask questions.
Sure.
But you just said observable proof. You just said I don't believe something unless there's observable proof.
Yeah, unless I can.
Where is the
Because-
observable proof? Do you believe that a spaceship's ever left Earth and gone out?
Remember when I talked to you on Facebook and you said this is a one-on-one?
I'm just asking questions. I'm not saying that I'm right or that you're wrong.
That's why I wanted somebody
But I'm
else to come
asking
on.
a question.
Because I knew nobody was going to follow the rules. Okay, I'm sorry.
This isn't-
You're right.
this isn't going off rules.
My
This is me
belief,
asking
my
a personal
personal
question.
belief is the ice wall because that is, it just makes more sense to me with the Antarctic Ice Treaty that
Yeah.
keeps people out. So I started looking into the Antarctic Ice Wall. And I looked into Admiral Byrd and his exploration, and that woman, nobody ever found me her name, or I missed it. She supposedly went to Antarctica, and she went to the edge, and when she came back, they found her body, and on her body, they found a note or something that said she's been there, and, that's all they could get from a dead body. But that is my personal belief from what I've seen from images and put together with the Antarctic Ice Treaty. So it is my personal belief. I'm not saying it's a fact.
I'm not attacking your personal belief. I'm just asking a question that it's not me or her and I attacking you. I'm asking.
It says here Antarctica, the treaty is Antarctica as a scientific preserve establishes freedom of
Under the
scientific
guise, yes.
investigation and bans military activity on that continent under our Antarctic treaty. You told me to Google it. I did.
Okay,
That's what
and
it
then
says.
look up how many militaries
14, you said.
no, it's something like a dozen.
12 countries, you mean?
Could be 12 countries. It's their militaries. They're all in a treaty together.
Right, the one I just stated that there's no military allowed in Antarctica.
That's okay. Are you looking at Wikipedia possibly?
What I don't know what it matters though.
Because they also say 9/11 was done by Muslims, and you're not allowed to
We're not
actually.
gonna get into
You're
that.
not allowed. Well, you're not allowed to change the page. You got to look at the lock on the page. If there's a .gov or lock on
Can I
the page.
just ask a question personally?
Hey, if you want to believe government and the people who profit off of your ignorance,
Okay,
that's
well-
okay.
I just honestly, it's not taking sides or teaming up with her. It's me asking questions that I would like to know. Do you believe that we've actually left Earth and went to outer space?
No.
Okay, so that
So what about
throws away.
Jupiter? I thought you said
throws-
What is? Wait, what? Two people are talking
You're
about.
okay with Jupiter though?
So So Jupiter can still be up there without me believing that we've ever gone to space.
Oh, so you believe in space, just
No,
not.
I don't believe in space.
So Jupiter's in space, though.
You say Jupiter's in space.
Didn't we all agree earlier that it
No,
was
I'm
spherical
speaking on
space?
supposedly trying to counter what you're saying. Like, if you believe Jupiter's in space, da 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 da. I do not believe in space.
Where's Jupiter then? That's a question.
Well, a lot of flat earthers agree, disagree on something called a firmament. Some call it the dome. I don't really like that context. But if you actually take like that camera over there sitting in front of Johnny, hi Johnny. If you actually take that and you look at a star, you can even do it like on my smaller version of the Nikon. It doesn't have as good distance, but if you actually zoom in on the stars, they do not look through a camera lens what they do in your textbooks. They look more like a strobe of light under like water. So I'm not religious, but as a lot of
I don't think
religious,
anybody here is.
as
Okay.
a lot of religious people, like to believe there's, in Genesis, the first book or verse or whatever they call it in the thing, they talk about a firmament and they talk about waters above, waters below. We hear old legends of the lost city of Atlantis. There's like a lot of different theories. It's all, like I said, I've only been a flat earther since 2014, the year my son was born. So, this is still new to me. Like, I'm still learning, I'm still growing, I'm still reading, I'm still trying to understand myself. So there's some things that you're asking that I can't answer that I'm hoping to one day to be able to answer or somehow justify this crazy shenanigan that I somehow stumbled upon.
Let me interrupt. Is there anything you could ask her that you think she wouldn't be able to answer?
Sure. So NASA engineer admitted they did post a television series from NASA up on YouTube for watch. The NASA engineer admitted no one and nothing can get past high radiation in the Van Allen belt. And this was, they were talking about, they were trying to go up for the Orion space exploration.
My friend just got hired to that program today.
That's funny because I was just reading today that under the Obama administration, they totally canceled that whole exploration out.
Gotta wonder what he's being paid as a shill.
I mean, that was the Washington
Shout
Post
out
or one
to
of those, so it could be true, it could not be true, but it's just what I read.
That's also,
So what year
That's the
was
media
this?
telling
Yep.
you what you need to hear. It's another government thing.
What year was this?
That it was dropped?
No, this person talking.
Oh God, I have no idea. I don't.
You said it was
It's too
during the
many.
Obama
Just type in
administration, so that's,
what's
you
that?
said it was under the Obama administration?
No, that's when the whole exploration was canceled.
Okay.
There's something actually on my Facebook wall about it recently, because I wanted to get the name of the video. If you want to look it up, just type in NASA engineer admitted can't get through Van Allen belts. I guess I would put it.
Somebody asked, explain tsunamis.
To me or
Either one.
Explain soon. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
whatever.
my guess. I don't really have like an actual I've never caused a tsunami myself. So. I mean, except for dropping something in water or pulling something out from underneath the water. So, I mean, that's a good question.
Can we go?
Definitely.
You still have the balls out, so
I
we're
do.
going to show something about
The moon phase.
You have your balls.
I thought you were about to say
I
that.
love to
Way
play
different.
with balls. I don't like to live on one, but I like to play with them.
So you're going to show something about the eclipse with them?
No, I just
it
brought
on
out one
the
for that.
moon?
This was for the moon phases. That was during the
Well,
eclipse I told
can you
about.
elaborate on that then?
Yes, actually,
You need a
hold on.
light source
I
or
have
not?
the exact.
One of these gone or something.
No, actually, okay, I've got two balls. They're about the same size. Just pretend it's over like a circular
one's the
flat
moon?
plane.
Which one's the Earth?
We'll do neither because I'm talking about the flat Earth model. So one's the moon, and then the sun. Okay, so if we do the moon phases on the flat Earth model. So a solar day for 360 degrees to make around a flat Earth takes about 24 hours. Okay, or even on the globe model, the sun goes around the Earth supposedly in 24 hours, right? Okay,
Except
so
in Alaska sometimes.
depending, that actually goes for the sun never sets. What is it in Norway? It was filmed.
What is it called? Yeah, what is it called? It was like 14 days of sun or something like that.
I think it was 40, wasn't it?
Was it long? I don't know.
40 days.
14, 40. Okay.
Well,
So this is hard to explain because I've got two balls and a camera over here. Okay. So in a solar day, okay, this is the sun. It's going to move around the flat Earth model in 24 hours. Per hour, it moves about 15 degrees. It moves faster, just a little bit faster than the moon is moving. The moon moves about 14.5 per hour instead of 15 degrees. So the sun is actually moving faster, okay? So whichever side of the sun is actually hitting the moon, that's what side of the phase you're going to see on the flat Earth model. It's hard to show because without these being orbs of light and in a darkened room with, I'm just trying to give the best sort of experiment right now as possible to support the flat Earth model. So that's how we explain the moon phases.
So the sun and moon are in the dome.
I don't like that word. There's some sort of barrier, I believe, of some sort.
Okay, question to you. I'll use your ball. So if the moon,
Hands off
Would
the
you like
balls.
two of them?
So let's see here. Maine in North America and then southern Argentina are about both 3,000 miles away from the equator. And how close do you think the moon is to the Earth? Like 3,000 as well?
I don't know the exact
So say the moon is
coordinates of what
three.
some
We'll say
people are
3,000
saying.
just because it'll make the math easy. So if the moon is up here and they're both 3,000 miles away, it would create a right angle up to the moon. So that means that these people would see this square on the moon, and the people in Argentina
We always see
would
the same side of the moon.
No, but if the moon's inside the dome, they would see the back side and the front side. Maine's over here, Argentina's over here.
Not necessarily. Can you see this?
I mean, it's three.
So my hand is the back of the moon. If it's always going like this and facing away, it's always facing towards the Earth. It's actually on the outside, so you would always be seeing.
But isn't that outside the horizon
You
where it should be
see
small?
a flipped image depending on where in the hemisphere you are.
Well, you just said we see the same thing.
Yes, but a flipped image. No, I say that you see the same side of the moon. Like no one ever sees the dark side of the moon.
Right, tidal lock. Yep.
So you've got the face of the moon, and it moves around like this.
On
No
that
matter
edge?
what, it's always not quite to the edge. No, it would not be considered the edge. Let's put it. Okay, maybe this is a little bit better. More at a downward angle. Let's do that.
So, like, where on the sphere is it rotating
So if-
around?
Okay, this is so hard to do with a camera. Okay. So you have the moon. So you have the moon. You have one image. You have this side of the moon. So you have like the northern
So
hemisphere, the southern
let me ask
hemisphere.
you a question. So that disc would be the Earth. Okay, so stop right there. Put it somewhere else. Like up where it is. All right. So right now the moon is visible, right? So you're saying on that side of the disc is say Argentina, and the other side would be like Asia.
But
But I'm just saying for
it's
instance,
night
it's
and
a-
one's. Are you talking
So
about?
one would be lit and the other one would be lit. So if they're both looking up like that,
Then, so what you're asking is,
You're looking
why
one
is it
side.
not sunny like all over Earth? Is that what you're asking?
no, I'm saying if you're looking from one side of the planet looking at the moon and the other side of the planet looking at the moon, why are they seeing
The
they'd be
same face, but opposite, like flipped spectrum, right?
So that's another experiment for the kids at home.
Doesn't
Call a
make sense to me.
friend when the moon is out and ask them which way you can see the craters. I mean, that's easily
We actually do
disprovable.
this on
Flat Earth in the groups. We
I
all
actually
take
do this with my
pictures.
friends in Australia.
We
so.
take pictures all the time of the moon, and we show what we can see to figure out
So
the.
they have flipped images of it? People in
You-
Australia?
It's just like going like this. That's
Right,
all it is.
so the
It's still
crater,
the
the
same
giant
size.
crater at the bottom would be at the top in the southern hemisphere?
I don't know. I've never been to the sun. That's
You're-
what they
well,
say.
you can't explain something and then like just stop when like facts run out for you.
I'm not exactly stopping.
It's
I'm
an
trying
easy
to
question.
understand
I'm
what
asking,
you're.
did your friends post pictures if the moon's like this and then it's flipped? why is the big crater
No,
then not in the
we
opposite
always
side?
see the same side of the moon. It depends on. It's really hard to. I guess if I don't have like this as a moon and something doing it for me, then I guess it's hard
No, I
to.
understand what you're saying. You're saying that we always see the face of the moon, which
Right.
is the one everyone sees anytime you look up a picture of the moon
Right.
outside of pictures from outer space. You'll see that face.
Right.
So you're basically saying, though you said the Earth, the image is flipped. For people in the
it's-
outer,
I'm
is it on the outer
I
side
guess,
of the sphere or the flat Earth?
NASA is the one that says it's
No, I'm
flat.
asking you
But
and
my
your friends.
my friends take the same photos.
So the people
When
in
we take the
Australia.
photos, yes, I have tons of friends. Hi, everybody in Australia. Anya.
So so we'll take this dot for
Karen.
example. So to the Australians, it would look like this. It's still the same face. It's still the same face. It's just flipped.
You kind of did say that it'd be a reversed image, like inverted image.
Yes,
Why would it
supposedly.
be
I've never
upside
been to
down?
Australia,
You
but
just
yes,
said that your friends
supposedly.
have the
Yeah, because I'm not my friends, but I'm just saying from what
But why? But
people
that,
have
but that
posted
doesn't answer.
photos of.
But that doesn't answer
Can
the
people
question.
just post photos in the comment section,
We're
no
not
matter
going to
where
see.
you are
We're not
right
going to
now?
see.
if you
We're not
the
going to see
moon,
that
please
because
do
you're
it.
on your own personal.
No, but you guys will be tagged.
But
you
I'm
guys
not
will
going
be
to look
able
at
to
that right
see.
now. I'm asking you. You said if Australia is over here, North America is over here, why are they going to see that? Like, is it going like this?
Yeah.
That it's going to be upside down? Like they're going to see the bottom and they're going to see the top?
No, I'm
So
sorry.
that's what you
I
explained.
guess
That's
This
literally
is
what
what.
you,
This is
that's
why this
literally
is
what you
really
explained to us.
confusing because I guess this is one face of the moon.
Okay, I
Okay.
can understand that. That's
So
fairly simple.
moving, I guess I can't move my hand. So
Can
you
do
see
that?
what I'm
We get
saying?
it.
Yeah,
You
no,
said
you
the same
Okay.
face.
Okay. Cool.
For
You do
spherical,
get it.
it's called a tidal lock because it's rotating at the same speed that it's orbiting the Earth.
No,
but,
the moon's not. I don't believe that the moon is
right,
rotating.
but it
like
is.
you're-
So continue with your flat thing. So if
So
it's
wait.
facing,
You're saying that the moon rotates? Now I'm confused.
yeah. So the moon
So how
rotates.
can we
and
always
see it's
see
called tidal lock. So the moon.
It's yeah, I've heard about this. They say that the moon is rotating exactly the same speed as the other side. Or it's like in such a perfect motion that we only ever see one side.
Yes, basically.
So nobody ever sees the other side of the
Except
moon.
when we send a rocket up there, yeah. What's your theory on that?
Because eventually other people, like in other places on the earth, if like two things are spinning, like,
So if it's spinning like this,
right?
so that you can see it spinning, the Earth is in the center of that. It's always going to see the same thing. My hand is still rotating. If you take our hand
At the
over
perfect
forward-
speed, though, at the most perfect speed.
Yeah, thanks to gravity.
Which has only been proposed because nobody's actually ever seen
Except
gravity.
what we were talking about at the beginning with taking.
Right?
The gravitons. That's
There it
density.
is.
That's density. We learned about density and buoyancy, you know, in water and fluid and stuff in school.
So when they take a density meter up into, they do those ships where it hits 0 G's and go back down. They've done experiments
Planes
with it.
instead of ships.
Sorry.
Aircraft.
So, yes.
Well, no one
This
says
is
that.
a- this is a gravity chamber.
No,
I
well,
wanna
they
do this.
call
I
it
wanna do this.
just because
I
they
wanna do
call
that
it
so bad.
zero gravity doesn't mean
Oh, it's
that.
not zero.
No,
It's-
they have measurements.
It's, yeah.
As you stated with throwing the ball in the car, you cancel out
You don't-
one motion to the other.
The ball comes back down. That's gravity.
But if you're going like this in a zero G plane, your body is moving at just the right speed to create that effect.
No. I'm talking about they have tools they can use
Okay,
to
but
measure density and buoyancy.
What
and at 0
experiment
G,
has
it
ever been
completely
able to
goes out the
see
window.
these? Okay,
Talking
the
about
gravitons, which they say are particles which gravity is made up of, why is it only a theory and why have we never actually seen them?
Have you seen an atom before?
Okay, but I'm talking about gravity,
Yeah,
not
but
an atom.
you're talking about not seeing something, so I'm going to bring up atoms, which we're all made of.
But
We've
I
never
want
seen
an
those.
answer, but we're talking about gravity. I just
Right.
want an answer to that.
So an answer to what?
Gravitons, they're only proposed that they exist because nobody's ever actually seen them. They just propose to support the globe Earth model and how we're all basically sticking to a ball.
Well, it's not. It has nothing to do with sticking. It has nothing to do with like magnets or any.
So how
like,
come a fly can take off from the ground?
because
so
it
easily?
exerts enough force away from gravity to get away from the ground. I mean, you jump right, or else. I mean, I could
Yeah, but
get up
my
and stuff,
son
right?
seems to be stronger than a fly, and he can jump barely compared to what a fly can
Again,
fly.
we're talking about perspective here. A beetle, a best beetle can also pull like 10 times its weight. I'm guessing you probably couldn't do that. So we're talking about ratios here.
Depending on if it's on wheels or not, I guess.
Okay. Anyway, so back to buoyancy. Continue on with that.
Same thing with buoyancy. It just depends on the like what's in the water. We're talking about whether it's going to sink or whether it's going to float. You understand buoyancy?
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
But none of this, nothing, like, I want proof of gravity. I want the science experiment where you can look at the gravitons.
Why do you have to look at the molecules? If gravitons.
Because you have to observe them in order to know that they exist. Otherwise, it's just
Like
a
atoms?
hypothesis. Okay, but
Wow.
we're talking about
I got a
gravity.
really good question. We're gonna keep going on. Somebody just
I
asked a
I
question.
just want
Somebody
to
asked,
see
somebody asked the
gravitons.
question, the Northern Lights. Explain the shit out of that.
I can't, but I would like.
But it's
I-
a good question.
But that should have ended. Yeah, that's a good question.
It is a really good question because
But that-
I've seen it before. You've seen
And
it before. You've
mine.
seen it before.
And I want to bring up Polaris. I forgot we were doing something earlier with the soundboard and everything, and I wanted to bring up Polaris.
Yeah, I can't get that. I don't have the right adapter right now to. Oh yeah, you need to do something with Polaris. You told me not to interrupt you, or not to let you forget about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Dave's back.
Hello.
Welcome back.
And we're back.
Dave was outside smoking 35 cigarettes. You hear that, Dave's mom? 35 cigarettes.
Mom, it was only
Can I-
one.
Just one
Go
thing, I totally forgot that we actually recently were able to measure gravity waves in the form of the Big Bang. So
Is that what
that's
your government told you?
No, the scientists told me that.
The scientists
And my
that are
father did the math
.gov,
on it for me, so and he's not paying,
NASA
I don't
is
think.
government. It's a government organization.
No, I'm talking about math. I'm not talking about the government. I'm talking about like we show them the mathematics.
But math is not proof unless you can actually observe it for yourself. You can make equations all day. You have to be able to observe something.
I keep hearing that statement, and it's
But isn't that the same for flat? I mean, I asked you for math earlier, and you couldn't. provide
Trigonometry, that's what I told you. Are we talking
Right,
about the
but you haven't
curvature
shown me
again?
a single trigonomic problem.
Because, okay, we were actually talking about the curvature being per mile 8 inches that we should witness
Have you ever looked
to account
across
for curvature.
to
Yes, with
Toronto?
my telescope, the horizon, absolutely.
and you were able to measure 8 inches? Not inches,
I've
not
watched
8 inches, but 8 inches.
Where people,
There.
I used to think that ships disappeared over the curve, but then I started using my telescope. Even a simple camera, you can zoom in and see that ships do not, they disappear out of your view because people can't see that far, which is what you guys were
You should
talking
probably
about
look
earlier.
at like cruise ships. It's probably a little bit easier to see because they also have the levels and you can see them.
When I'm in the
There.
Thousand Islands, standing on my docks, we have canal and waterways on both sides of Carlton Island, in which the big cargo ships actually go through. They're plenty huge, trust me, and or not, but they, are stacked and stacked with train freights, and they're pretty big. I mean, I don't know how much bigger you can really get. I know cruise ships. I've been on them. I've been on the ocean several times.
Okay.
Ships do not disappear. Lighthouses would never work for as far as they do.
So all the stuff like I've seen and people, my friends with telescopes have seen is false then?
Not necessarily. I used to think that the globe, like we were on a ball spinning, and it took me 3 days after I discovered, that it might not be for the Earth to stop spinning in my head. The mind is a very powerful thing, and if you tell a lie long enough, eventually it becomes the truth, which was told by the famous Nazi Adolf Hitler.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know how that has to do with what I said, but
Well, we were talking about Nazis earlier.
so, okay.
So I have a question. This is the first time I've heard myself in a headphone, so it's strange. We were talking about missiles at some point. I don't know if we covered that when I went outside.
No.
Are you talking about missiles underwater or overwater?
So we're talking about ground-to-air missiles,
Right.
rockets in general.
Artillery.
they go to a certain point. When you watch them, they go up. If you're watching from if you're watching a missile launch, or let's say a rocket, not a missile. I've never seen a missile launch. Steve's seen a rocket launch. I've never seen.
I would hope we would never see that live.
Right, like that's not a good thing. I don't care what.
Might be
side it
soon.
is. But the idea is that they say they go up, and then to a certain degree, and then out, and then out of sight. Never out of sight by going straight up. That's a theory based on flat Earth.
Which is explained by the globe because they're trying to catch up with the spin of the Earth to like thrust them off.
Right, what
into
is the flat Earth
space.
theory then on that?
That they go back down just like they show. If you actually look at any space shuttle launch, you can watch them go up and then they come back down.
I mean, that's the
and
goal of
they-
a rocket usually, or a missile, is to come back down for a target.
But I was talking about space shuttle.
Well, they don't come back down right away
You can watch them on video.
unless they explode.
They
which would really
literally
say-
cut out after
go
they
up
start to
and-
curve back down.
I've actually never seen a video. I've seen like a launch from the ground go all the way to outer space.
And they
Not
always
at
do
once.
it over the Bermuda Triangle where people just disappear.
Cape Canaveral,
Nobody's allowed to go,
Florida.
or shouldn't go, I should say. They make scary stories.
I'm asking like, I'm not to ask. I don't even know. I don't know how to phrase that question without sounding rude. And I'm going to be polite, and we all agree to be polite. But
Yeah.
there's been uncut footage from a spaceship launching from Florida, going to outer space and not being cut.
Is it, or is it CGI
or-
with the background and the camera zoom going?
That's it.
Can I like piggybacking off of that? So everything you see, pictures, NASA sites, all this stuff is fake. So how come the flat earthers don't have any of
Not
their own
everything.
pictures?
Like, not everything. I totally know that they have the space shuttle launches, like, and everything.
Right, but he just said to outer space, and you just said that.
No, it
it's
doesn't go to space.
CGA.
No,
Where's
he
where
was.
Where's it going?
I was
My
just
question.
trying to go off of what he was saying, that there was an
Where's-
ongoing camera view on a space shuttle going to space. And I said, but how do you know that's not just, CGI with the camera zoom? I mean, if you flip a camera upside down, you can easily, like, especially with cloud cover, you can make it look like the globe really easily with the fisheye lens. I have fisheye lens. I have all this stuff to, like, mimic what NASA does sometimes with their imaging and making the clouds look like they're moving.
So what is the end goal? If the Earth
question.
is
For
flat, for the government to keep this a secret, I mean, that's a lot of resources and money and time going into why?
Wait, before we jump into that, I just want to say we're at 8:28.
Okay, yeah, I gotta go.
So
like-
let's
Let
do
her,
this.
let her answer that question.
Yeah, I'd like to get just a
think it's a
closing
good
argument, and we'll
I want her
wrap
to
this up.
answer that question first.
So-
What is your end game? Like, what is your end game? If the Earth turns out to be flat, we understand like you're mad at NASA or mad at the government.
I'm not mad. I don't have to be mad. I just have
You-
to bring
you
it
seem a
straight. Like
little
I said,
upset.
sometimes I get frustrated because I'm trying to get my point across, but I don't hold on to anger. I don't hold on to
Okay.
emotions
Okay.
in general.
Back to why.
Yeah. Okay. So,
What is your end game?
well, it's always a belief, as you know, because I'm not NASA. I can't say I'm not, a government official. But if I was super powerful and an occultist, which I've studied, it's all about power. It's a mockery. It's all about controlling people. It is about, money. What do you want when you have all the money in the world? It doesn't take nearly as much money to have a Hollywood, Universal Studio movie set and create a movie as these people bank all the time. I mean, you just hire pay people hey, I'll give you $500 every day if you just sit here, per artist, there's 5 artists, you guys just sit there and poop out photos and CGI and stuff.
All
And
18,000 people work for NASA though. Like, I want to know what those 18,000 people are doing.
But they all have their different decompartmentalized jobs. That's how government works. Nobody knows everything of what the other person is doing. My father was a machinist for 38 years, and he was New York State's #1 machinist for Precise Tool. He was the only guy allowed to work on the biggest machines in New York State. So, I mean, he's a mathematical genius, and he would make these turbines and things for the military and NASA, and I used to be able to go in as a little girl and see these things, and he'd be like, oh yeah,
What
that's
was his name?
supposed to be Robert Vernetti.
Continue.
Continue.
He's not going to be on there because what he was working on was classified information. As a little girl, he used to tell me that the missile caps that I used to see would have to be discreet. I wasn't allowed to go to my friends at school and tell them about them. This was during the Clinton administration. The turbine that he was making.
Yeah, but anecdotal. It goes back to anecdotal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not saying that it's not true.
well, you were also talking about your family, so I mean, why is it whenever I do something, it's like the
That's
double
what I asked you.
standard?
She never claimed that her family was working on a government conspiracy. Or
Yeah.
But my father,
Or was it classified
my father
information?
never believed he was working for a government conspiracy. That's not very fair
Well, I'm
to
not
put
saying
those words in
conspiracy,
my
but
mouth.
you're saying that he worked for NASA and
No, I didn't. I said he was a machinist. I said he.
you literally just said that he was making
Yeah,
machines
you
for
don't.
NASA.
That's the decompartmentalization, that process
Okay,
that I was
understand.
talking about.
I'm not attacking you, so don't take it as that.
Nah,
This is the way I talk.
Okay, but I don't like words in my mouth, so that's why I'm going to
I'm
explain
repeating
this
the words
to
that
you.
you said.
Companies go to machine shops like Precise Tool, for instance. Sorry, I'm calling you guys out.
They're outsourcing their work.
Yeah, and
But
they
then
can
you-
say this is
but
for
then-
NASA.
But then right
this
after
is
you
for
said,
so-and-so.
right after you said that, you said I wasn't allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, it was
You're not gonna
classi-
find it online because it's
because my-
classified. But
So
you-
my dad can still be a machinist and be told from his bosses, "Hey, keep this, quiet. We don't want,
And they would tell
people."
you,
because
and
they
that's
were
what
told by the people who paid them to manufacture their product that they needed to keep it quiet.
You would
and
think that the
discreet.
same people that spend all the money on people quiet could also quiet the people that are now finding out about it.
Yeah, that are exactly doing what they were told not to do. So that's, again, like you said, anecdotal.
But my father's not a machinist. He got hurt at work. He had to retire early about 7 years ago, and so they don't care what he's doing. They've been having to pay his
They don't care about the
insurance for
secret
his
information
problems.
he's telling people?
Wait, what?
The secret information he's
They
telling people? They
don't
don't care?
know. You're telling me those people are
Well, now
watching
they're-
because they're not. Hi, Gizzies.
Alright.
So,
Closing statement.
Like I said, I could not
To,
work for the CIA because I have a big mouth, and that's why, because I'm not afraid to talk about these things.
well, once again, I want to thank both of you guys for coming out.
Thank you.
Lorelai, I really appreciate you being here.
Hey,
Roxy,
everybody, thanks for watching. You guys are awesome. Thanks for your support.
thank you so much. We're going to open up closing arguments. One last. Oh, did we already cover that?
No, I'm just saying, I don't really, I think I covered. If she wants to say something, that's cool.
If you have anything else to add,
Closing arguments. Do you guys want to add anything before we finish off here?
71% of the Earth is made of water. Water always lays flat. What the fuck is curving?
Wait, you never heard of meniscus, obviously. So
I've heard of trigonometry.
right, which you never brought up the whole conversation. So yeah, I guess I want to tell people to just go up.
Every time I said
closing
trigonometry.
arguments don't involve.
I just want to do the beach experiment. That's a really cool one. Take a friend out to the beach, have one laying down. That's a really cool one to do at home. Or if you have a high tower somewhere, do the thing where you climb up and see the sun setting. That's a really good one.
Telescope, look over water. Ships never disappear over curvature.
Yes, take a telescope, look at a cruise ship, see it disappear from bottom up. It's pretty cool.
Well, perfect. Again, I appreciate
On
you guys
my
coming out.
telescope, I'll do an experiment this summer once the docks are not underwater anymore.
Okay.
I think
I'll
this
put
is,
it on.
This is a lot of fun. I really appreciate
Yeah,
you guys
that's
coming
cool.
out. Again, I want to thank Joe Mockbee.
Johnson,
Johnson.
sorry we didn't use your webcam. Lisa, thank you for letting us use your laptop that's now become our battle station over here. Thank you to everybody that's helped out.
Roxy Love for having the most
And
viewers.
thank you for Roxy and Lorelai for both showing up for the debate. We appreciate it. Also, a shout out to Filgers,
Yeah,
which I
absolutely.
can never fucking pronounce that.
Filgers.
Filgers, like Phil, then Gur, like Tony the
Easton Alexander.
Easton Alexander, yeah, they gave us wonderful space to work in, all the free electricity that we could use, power from the sun.
I really want to thank everybody that watched. We've had pretty close to 40 viewers the entire time we've been here.
Thank you guys all for tuning in.
That's huge. Again, the Goon Squad Pubcast happens every Tuesday. We do that. This is a special event, and we'd like to do more of these things.
Hey, my friend said thanks.
Thank
Thank
them.
you, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank
All
you
your
everybody on,
friends,
on her
Wait,
feed
hold
as
on,
well.
wait. Oh.
Thank you guys.
Thanks guys, we appreciate it.
And Johnny over there, Johnny, wait, you're
As
in the
it
dark,
stands-
he's creeping.
Yeah.
We had 23 likes, 15 shares, and 863 comments. So
Great.
I'll have to
I
look
really
after
appreciate
this.
everybody coming together for this.
Most
And,
of it was shit talk.
the big
Hi,
takeaway
Sarah.
here.
Thanks, Steve.
Mommy, love you.
The big takeaway for me here is that it's good that we can come together, have an open discussion, not need to really get too I don't think that our society has enough of these open forums where people can just come and talk. I mean, and maybe this wasn't your classic debate. We had some debate elements, and I gotta agree. I mean,
This
maybe
could probably go on a long time. on
right,
either side,
absolutely.
yeah.
And there's a lot of different directions we could take it in. But again, I really appreciate everybody tuning in, and I couldn't say enough how
Rory,
much
I
we
did
appreciate it.
mention Polaris.
A lot of work goes into this. It's been a labor of love, and we've seen no return on it, and we're happy with that. So thank you guys so much, and we're gonna go ahead and end the video here, and enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.
Thank you.
Peace and love, motherfuckers.